Hey everybody, Vigilant Citizen here. My name is Josh. Thanks for joining. As you can see, I'm outside today. I was out doing some yard work, and it's a good reminder for me just to kind of get my hands dirty every now and then because I sit at a keyboard in front of a computer all day long, every day, and you might hear my dogs out behind me playing around. And you can see, hey! Sorry. And you can see that I have cleverly hidden the backyard because it is a mess right now. The wife and I are doing we're redoing the whole backyard basically, and it's not in a good position to be shown to the world at the moment. So you get this nice tree in the background here. So, but yeah. Oh, and a reminder, if you don't do this kind of work, this kind of tough work with your hands all the time, make sure you wear gloves because I think I've got a blister forming. It's a good reminder that my hands aren't as tough as they probably could or should be because I'm not out in the sun all the time, or at least as much as I should be anyway. But as I was doing some of this work, I like to listen to podcasts. It's a great way to help pass the time, but also just to to learn more about things that maybe I don't know about and hear from other perspectives and from other people that I don't get to during the workday. And this particular podcast, I'm not going to name names because I'm about to criticize it. I think it's a good podcast, but I don't necessarily want to throw them under the bus at all because I think professional courtesy, I guess. Not that this is a huge podcast like theirs is, but it got to the portion of the show in which the host responds to mail, and the hosts, I'm not going to go into the details of what the question was about, but the host's initial response was, "Hey, you need to man up." And it got me thinking about that phrase a little bit, man up, right? And why you might say that to somebody, and when is the appropriate time to say that to somebody, because I think there are appropriate times to say that to somebody. And so mostly I want to talk to the guys who are watching this, because I think when women hear man up, they think one of two things. One, they think that that's how guys behave and just leave it be. The other thing that they might think about is that, why are you saying man up? That's sexist. But I'm not going to go into that or either of those. So I'm mostly talking to the men because men know that there's an appropriate time to say man up to another guy. But I felt that this one was actually a little bit inappropriate because the person who wrote in, it was very clear that they were struggling with something. They had... And it was also clear that they were bringing some pain to their own life in a way that didn't need to be. It was unnecessary pain, and they were inflicting it upon themselves. And it was pretty clear, right? But I sort of shied away at the host's... Here go the dogs. They're about to bark. Yeah. I was a little put off, maybe is the right way to say it, put off by the host's sudden desire and sudden response to just say, "Hey, man up," right? Because here was a fellow human being who was hurting and didn't know why, or at least they had some idea why. I was muted there for a second because you don't want to hear me yelling at my dog. But here was a fellow human being who was hurting and didn't really know the way to get through what he was currently feeling. And the host just said, "You need to man up." Well, I think a lot of times guys will say that because it's just kind of a tough guy routine, but it doesn't really give any answers. And sometimes you need to say it. Sometimes the guy you're talking to is just whining, right? And being kind of a baby. And he just needs to man up. He needs to work through this problem, and he needs to stop bitching about it. And sometimes that's the right thing to say to somebody because they won't snap out of it, and that's a good way of getting them back into reality. But this particular case was just going straight to the conclusion, and I felt that the host could have done a better job of building a case and then saying, "You need to man up," right? Instead, he went straight for the conclusion, you need to man up. And then he started talking about, here's what I think, you're hurting people around you, you're hurting yourself, and you shouldn't be doing that because of this and this and this. But I think it undermined his message because he went straight for the jugular instead of sort of peacefully or more gently going for the jugular, I guess, right? Maybe that's maybe going for the jugular is the wrong thing in this case. And I think a lot of times we forget that men today have a lot of, it's tough out there for guys, right? Homes are broken, families are torn apart, divorce rates are on the rise, and there's a lot of reasons why. I could turn this into one of those channels that goes into the truth and the facts of that, but I'll leave it as an exercise to the viewer to go and research that and why that is. But the end result is that boys and men are growing up in broken homes without father figures. They're not having anybody around to temper their behavior, their emotions, help them understand how to navigate them. And so when you have a guy like that who's grown up in probably a broken home, right? I don't know about this this listener of this podcast. I don't know what his background is or what his home life was when he was growing up. But I think it's safe to say that most men are in a situation in which they have not had the opportunity to grow up with fellow men to help them understand what it means to be a man and how to temper some of those emotions and behaviors. So I think if you have a friend and you know them very well and you say man up, you're probably going to have a better reaction by telling them that, right? You guys know each other. But if you have a listener or you have somebody who you don't know and they want to share with you their problem, and you start by saying man up, I think you're gonna lose them immediately. They're probably already feeling bad about themselves. They're probably not likely to hear what you have to say because they're gonna collapse it on themselves a little bit further after just hearing man up, because it's probably what everybody else is telling them. That's probably what everybody else is telling them, and they don't know how to deal with that or how to handle that because there is no way to handle that. Man up, what does that mean? Some men may not know what it means, so it's probably cause to use a gentler approach, especially if you don't know somebody. One thing I will caution everybody on, men especially, is be very careful around women who tell you to man up, because typically they're probably just trying to manipulate you. So take whatever they say with a grain of salt. And one of the main reasons is because women don't know what it's like to be a man, so they don't really know what it means to man up, right? And we can't tell them the same thing. We can't tell them be a woman, be a strong woman, be this. We have an idea. We have a pretty good idea, I think. But we don't know all of their experiences and their emotions and all that kind of thing. And same goes for us. So it's not fair for them to say it to us, and it may not be fair for us to say it to them. Notice I gave us a little bit more wiggle room. But you know what? I'm a guy and I'm going to do that. So, I was going to talk about something else today, but I was listening to that podcast and that came up and it got me thinking about it. So I thought I'd put my thoughts to a video and toss them out there. So if you have any thoughts on this topic, or you want to absolutely read me and tell me that I'm wrong, well, you know where to write in the comments, and or you can send an email to the one provided in the description below. So, all right, thanks. This is Vigilant Citizen. This is Josh. See ya.